Welcome to the Boardroom. I'm Ros Gold-Onwude. I'm here with Danilo Gallinari, forward for the OKC Thunder. Gallo, how are you?
I'm great, and you?
I'm well, man. I can't wait to dive into all of these topics today.
Let's do it.
So, Gallo, with your background, knowing so much about what was happening in Italy and abroad, you already understood how serious that coronavirus and COVID-19 was. But I would say for a lot of Americans, many didn't really understand the severity of it. And a real wake up call was the postponement of the NBA season, which happened March 11th. And it kind of had this huge culmination around the OKC Thunder versus Jazz game. It happened in Oklahoma City. Obviously, you're a member of the Thunder. And I'd like to ask you some questions about reliving that night, which will forever go down in infamy and memory. But basically, NBA game day, it's a day of routine. It starts with and ritual. It starts with kind of waking up, and then pregame shoot around, and then pregame meal. Many players nap after that. Then there's heading on the buses to the arena. There's media obligations. There's pregame warm up, and then finally it's the game. At what point during the regular routine and rhythm of game day did you recognize that something was wrong?
Well, the first moment actually was just right before the jump ball because the during the day the routine was the same. When I got to the arena, we did shoot around, and everybody, we went through the same routine. And so when I got to the court, I was the first one on the court, and I was ready to get the game started. And usually the referees are in the same spot, and usually the ref that is at the F court pass me the ball, play with the ball a little bit, I give it back to him, and they were not there. So I turned around right away, and I saw them at the scores table talking to our head trainer, and it was weird. It was the first time for me seeing something like this. So I went back to the bench, and I was talking to my teammates, but nobody knew what's going on. And so after a little bit, they sent us to the locker room, and I was like, I thought about something related to the virus. To be honest, I don't think that my teammates or anybody in the arena did. And so I was like, okay, this is something big. This is some huge going on. And so when we went to the locker room, they didn't tell us anything. But I was telling to my teammates that I think that is something related to that, to the virus. And so they came back after a while, and they told us that one of the Jazz player was positive, was tested positive. So from that moment, I was like, okay, I know what's going on in my country. I know how people are living right now. People are behaving right now. And so I was like, okay, from tomorrow, I think that we're going to start changing our habits a little bit. And then from the next day, that's when the quarantine started. I was so glad that Adam Silver was able to stop everything. It was a great move. And so not a lot of, managers did that move, not even in Europe or in other sports. So it was great from him. And from the next day, living the quarantine life. So
Now, wait. I just want to go back because there was a moment of waiting. You guys were cleared from the court. Who delivered the news to you, and what exactly was said to the team when they said, what happened?
it was the head trainer told us that one of the players, they didn't tell us the name right away. One of the player who was positive of the Jets, and so the message was delivered like that. And then they told us to stay in the arena, that we could shower, but we had to stay in the arena. They would test our temperature, and after that we were be able to go home. So we waited until the trainers were ready with the instrument to measure our temperature. And after that, nobody had a high temperature, so we were able to all go back home.
What was the atmosphere like in the locker room? What your teammates and yourself, and were you guys able to follow along? Obviously, what was happening on social media as the developments were coming out, and you were stuck in a locker room.
Yeah, I mean, of course, our phones were going crazy because we were getting all kinds of, text messages and seeing on social media what was going on. So the atmosphere was weird because some of the players were actually believing that we could play that game. So some players went back to the weight room, lifting weights. Some of the players were stretching. We were still trying, to stay warm and stay loose. And maybe because they didn't tell us right away that the game was stopped, that we wouldn't play that game. So it was a weird atmosphere. But then when they told us, the atmosphere was even more weird because we didn't know what we could have done, that night, how the next day could have been. So everything was in the air, and we didn't know anything. So it was weird.
Right. And then afterwards, you guys were able to get a test. When did the test happen, and what's it like getting a test for COVID-19?
Well, the test is very quick, very easy. They have those. They have like pretty long, like Q-tips. I think that's the name, and they put them all the way up to your nose, or they put them in the mouth, and that's how the test. That's how they do the test. They did it maybe like a couple of days after that game. And after they test us, they told us to wait, and we waited maybe I don't know, 3, 4 days before we got the test back, because of course there were other people in general in the States being tested. It wasn't just about, NBA players. And so we waited a little bit, and then they gave us the test back, and that's it. All of us for the Thunder were negative, and that's it.
The news got out eventually that it was Rudy Gobert who had tested positive. And later on, it would come out that Donovan had tested positive as well. We're so thankful to hear that they're both, have recovered. That news has come out. But honestly, man, when it came out that Rudy tested positive, and this was before the American public really understood what coronavirus was. We still don't, but I mean, totally we're in the dark. All sorts of thoughts about how you get it, how you give it. Like now, I think people would have been more hesitant in how they discussed Rudy's diagnosis. Do you think he was unfairly criticized after finding out he was positive?
I think so. First of all, like you said, I'm glad that he's feeling better, and Donovan is feeling better too. But at the beginning, of course, also, I saw that video where Rudy was, touching those the microphones in the media room. But I think that I knew it, but maybe him and all the other players, they didn't know how bad the coronavirus could be, and how bad the situation for an entire country could be. So yes, I think that the critics and stuff was too much at the beginning, and especially, it's in these cases, even now some people don't understand what the virus is. But just to give a general idea for the public to understand, if people don't know yet. Usually you compare the virus to the flu, right? And so if you imagine the flu, how bad the flu could be, and even a simple flu could be pretty bad. The virus is worse than the flu, and it's easier to spread out and to get it. So just by knowing that, you have to understand that it's so easy to get this virus that you have to understand that he didn't know, Donovan didn't know, and so it's a different situation.
Right. I mean, I guess, my thought is you don't necessarily know even how one can contract or give, or who's giving who coronavirus, because people are so often asymptomatic and it takes a while to come up. So I think that's something for the NBA public and conscious perhaps to consider, how we discuss this virus, and people who have it and people who don't. But anyway, I want to move along to Adam Silver, who you've already given props to for handling the situation well. And I mean, come on, this NBA leadership this season has had to handle the China controversy, David Stern's passing, obviously Kobe Bryant's tragic passing, now coronavirus, COVID-19. First of all, what do you see and think of the leadership of the NBA right now as a player?
Well, it's got to be the worst 2020, at least the worst NBA season in terms of like stuff that has been happening. You mentioned all the terrible events that started this 2020. And so the way that the NBA and I was sure about it, knowing Adam and knowing also David, it's amazing the way that he handled all this situation. You get hit by these four events that you mentioned. I mean, it's I would never, I don't want to be in his position because the amount of pressure and the decisions that you have to make are huge, and so I'm glad that I'm not in, that I didn't have to be Adam and I'm just a spectator in this situation. But he's been amazing. So
Well, the players will have their time as well. And I know there are many ways, you're making impact as well, and we'll get to that. But for Adam Silver, the top paid executives in the NBA have already taken a 20% pay cut on their salaries.
mhm.
Uh, and as the conversation continues with the possibility of canceling games, the eyes will turn to the players. And of course, there's been conversation about doomsday provisions, force majeure, that uh, have the language of epidemic and pandemic in it, that would allow owners and the NBA to recover a percentage of NBA players' salaries. First of
Yeah.
all, were you aware that these existed?
I was aware. I'm a pretty good student. I like to read about stuff, study stuff, and especially studying and reading the CBA. I think is something pretty interesting. Of course, I know a small percentage of everything because it's a book that is this big, so I didn't read every page, but I read that page and I know what the situation is. I know that what
Why
the
did you read that page? Why was that something pandemic page? Why would you read that?
because that's one of the few pages and causes that I cannot get my money. So so as you know, everything related to the contract and causes that even in my contract or in every player contract, the extreme sports, yeah, those kind of clauses that everybody has in the contract is something that you want to be aware of. And of course, this is like I always say, this is bigger than the NBA, is bigger than the States, is bigger than basketball, is bigger than anything. We are going through something that we have never seen before. And so, the fact that there is a chance that we're not gonna get paid, I know it. I can't do anything about it. And it's something that I just hope, I know I did, but I just hope that players have saved their money and they'll be able to get through moments like this if we don't get paid.
Right. Well, that would be in the case of games were canceled, but certainly there's a hope that this season can be salvaged. And I know that's what everybody's working towards. But let's be honest, like, I mean, the dates that are being thrown around is not even in 1 month or 2 months. It might be 3 months. You could be maybe July. I mean, honestly, is this the same season if it starts 3 months later?
I don't think so. First of all, I'm not sure, but I think that if we start again, we start with no fans. So that's a huge difference, and that's something that is going to change the way that you approach a basketball game, and that's going to be different to play a game like this. And then the fact that the schedule is going to be different is going to change everything too. So it's not going to be the same.
Right. And imagine a team like yourself, OKC, who was beating expectations, charging into a potential nice playoff run. Like, now all of a sudden different players are healthy, different momentum. Like, what would that mean to your team?
Well, we are fighting for home court advantage. We win that game against Utah, we are fourth in the West, and so that's what we are fighting for. And of course, a lot of teams are fighting for that fourth, fifth, and sixth spot. And so, let alone the teams that are fighting for the eighth spot in the Western Conference. So it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be interesting. I don't know how we're gonna react. For of course, players are gonna need some time to get in shape, I guess. So it's different.
Yeah, and that's something to really follow up on because you talk about will you guys be able to have fans? Forget fans, forget fans. I'm more curious about you guys because you're at home and you told me already you have your fiance with you and she's the better chef and thank goodness, but you're at home cooking your own meals. You guys are making up your own workouts at home. It's not the same as a practice facility and there's nothing like game shape. So all of a sudden the season starts. What kind of conditioning can we expect from the players?
I mean, I don't know. We're trying. Of course, the conditioning is not going to be the same. As you know, you can be, for example, on a treadmill all day, and then you go and play a basketball game, and after 2 minutes, you are dead. You are dead.
Yeah.
So, you are. Of course, it's going to take a while before we all get in shape. I don't know how long it's going to take. I'm doing my job, whatever I can, to to stay in shape, but it's not easy. It's not the same.
What about the idea of perhaps playing in centralized locations? So again, we're letting go of fans, but people just basically all of the teams playing in one space and all being brought together.
Well, it's gonna be that even that is gonna be different. It's gonna be weird. That's the way that it could be handled. We'll see.
Hmm. Yeah, so how often do you speak to the NBPA and the NBA? How often do you hear from them?
We speak almost every day, and especially with the NBPA, they've been doing a great job keeping us posted on what's going on. I have one of my friends. His name is Matteo, and he's Italian, and he works for the NBPA, so it's even easier for me to talk to him every day.
Uh-huh.
But yes, they are keeping us posted with text messages, emails, calls, and so. But even with the updates, it's something. The way that we need to behave, we already know. They already told us. But how the NBA is gonna recover or how we're gonna play and finish the season is something that nobody knows. And the options, me and you talking right now, we could come up with some options, but we don't know. So.
What is the options being proposed that excite you most?
Well, just the fact that just the idea of playing basketball again this year, I think that's that's the best idea ever. How we gonna do that? Honestly, like I said, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and perhaps it may end up being no regular season games,
Yeah.
truncated playoffs, or shorter playoffs. Hey man, if this season comes back, we're all happy to see it. But does the championship have an asterisk symbol next to it? Like, will it be the same?
I don't think so. It's not gonna be the same. Just think about the celebration that you're gonna have once you win, and you look around. Of course, yes, it's great. Your teammates, everybody that works for the franchise, but you look on the stands and there is nobody. Of course, it's gonna be different.
Well, then there's the worst case scenario. What if the season can't be salvaged?
Please don't make me think about that. I don't want to think about that. I don't want it to be an option. Especially when I think about that, I think about all the work that we put in
Mhm.
as a team, as players, and not just us, everybody, of course. All the work that everybody put in that works for the franchise, everybody that works for the arena, everybody that works for the season in the NBA, TVs, everybody, and to not finish with the result, it's tough.
Well, if the season did end, and you knew I was gonna go here with this question too. There's been two kind of two-man races that everybody was talking about. So if the season did have to end today, who would you pick for MVP, especially with kind of the focus being on Giannis or LeBron?
I'll go with LeBron. For me, it's an easy choice because of the age. LeBron has been doing. He has an amazing. He's a legend already. He has an amazing career. He's dominating the game at 35 years old. How can you beat that?
All right. Well, then what about the two-headed race for the most part for Rookie of the Year between Ja Morant and Zion?
I think that I'll give it to Ja Morant because he played the whole season. Of course, Zion is amazing too, but Ja played the whole season.
Absolutely. All right. Well, for the last part of this interview, I just want to move along to basically this time off from basketball. You've been using it to invest in yourself, make yourself better. You're taking classes?
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep my day busy. So, and I got into the world of online courses lately. I didn't have that much time before, but now I do. And there are so many online courses that you can take on different websites, different packages. You can decide whatever you want. And so I'm just taking different courses to see and to learn more and to expand my knowledge in different kind of and size of business. For example, how can you build a brand, how can you build a firm, what's going on behind the scenes of what a firm can, or a product that you can see on the market. So these kind of things are the things that interest me the most.
Okay, but what are the courses exactly in? Is it a
All
market?
right. The first course that I took was an Excel course. Excel, of course, as you know, is being used for many years, and is the basic behind all the scenes that you can see of a firm or a product, or like take it for example, Apple or something, some businesses like this. If you don't know how to do an Excel or works Excel, they're not gonna hire you, I think. So that's something that I like a lot. And then accounting is something that actually my brother is studying in college in Detroit. And so it's something that I wanted to pick up too. And so I'm studying accounting too.
Wonderful. How did you learn about businesses outside of basketball?
I was very lucky. My dad was very good with that. Even if he was playing basketball, it was something that he studied for and something that he's pretty prepared on. And so he gave that knowledge to me and that passion to me. And so it's something that I want to keep doing and keep learning it. Of course, my dad knows a lot more about the country of Italy, so how the business could work there. And so I wanted to learn more how the business could work in the States. And so everything comes from my dad.
What's the full portfolio of Gallinari businesses that you have?
Oof. We might need another phone call in the next few days. It's long.
Is it?
But I think that one advice that I can give to to younger players and to people that are getting into investments or business is just, first of all, knowing what they want to invest in first, knowing the business. Once they understand the business, then to diversify the portfolio, because you want to make sure that you don't invest only on one thing, or one stock, or one bond, or one real estate opportunity. You want to make sure that you invest a little bit on everything. But before doing that, you have to have at least a basic knowledge of the business you're using or you're investing in.
Wonderful advice. And I happen to know, you have restaurants, you have a farm, you have a number of things you're doing. Does that give you a little bit of calm during this time where the NBA has uncertainty?
It does, and especially gives me something to do more. So even if I was going on, I don't know, my bank account or my investment account once a day, now I go 3 or 4 times a day. So I have something to do anyway.
Wonderful. Well, Gallo, thank you so much for joining us for this interview on the boardroom. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Rose.
Yes, stay safe, stay healthy.
You too. Make sure you stay out of trouble, okay?
Okay, thank you. You too.